Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today we've got some more r/BoomersBeingFools. I don't have any quirky quips to put in the intro as usual, so let's just get into it. Why are you so awful? Boomer sees my hearing aid and activates my trap card. I was reminded of an incident that happened a few years ago by another post in the sub. I was in a line at Home Depot waiting to use the self-checkout lane when a boomer loudly said, "I hate that kids wear those damn headphones everywhere." He was commenting on the hearing aid I wear in my left ear. I turn around to see some geriatric fuck in a Patagonia shirt, shorts, and nearly purple-red feet in sandals. This is the weirdest part that many have seen with boomers. The comment he made was his conversation opener, I guess. He expected me to take it out and say, "Sorry, sir," or wanted to get into a verbal fight or something. Anyway, I turn and point at the aid and tell him that it's a hearing aid. "Why would anyone your age need a hearing aid? You were probably doing something stupid like..." "Yeah, I joined the Air Force." This was the point that he locked up completely. He stayed quiet for the rest of the time I was there. He never apologized, but I could tell that he had broken a boomer rule of don't say shit about the troops. So he knew he was being an asshole, but it was who he was being an asshole to. That was the problem for him. I just don't get that mentality of insulting or voicing disapproval to random strangers as an opener. They bemoan the death of manners and respect, but act like punks for some reason. Edit has got a lot of attention, so I'd just like to thank everyone for their kind words. However, it breaks my heart to hear that this was not an anomalous interaction. To all with disabilities, big and small, visible and hidden, I wish you the best. This actually does bring up a point that I've noticed, but I've never really been able to actually put my finger on, and it's the fact that they do know they're being jerks to other people. They fully seem to understand that, and this is actually a fun example of it because the moment he found out he was making fun of someone he should actually be respecting, his tone changed. Definitely goofy behavior all around, and sadly not even close to being unique, but at this point, not really a surprise. It is what it is, and oh boy. Also, the ending that the poster put down, definitely probably the best way to wrap it up. It is a bit of a shame that the generation that was exposed to some of the most toxic chemicals like lead, Agent Orange, and just other forms of permanently damaging stuff to disable them for life are some of the least accommodating towards disabilities, and that's pretty shitty. Prestigious Neat 307. We had to tell my boomer mother-in-law to stop giving the baby alcohol and don't put the baby in the front seat. Boomer story. This was a few years ago. My youngest, who is now 7, was occasionally being watched by my mother-in-law. He was about 10 to 11 months at the time. We paid her. That's a whole other post. Anyways, I get back from work one day to see my now ex-husband in the kitchen looking worried. He's stressed. The baby's asleep. My mother-in-law is in our living room, looking solemn and kind of pissed. I quietly ask what's up, and he says, 1, he caught his mom giving the baby wine, like out of a glass. He was allegedly teething, and she needed the booze to medicate him. This happened more than twice that afternoon. 2, the neighbors caught his mom putting the baby in the front seat. No car seat. They saw her put him in and take him out. We decided to approach her. United front. We tell her, 1, please don't give the baby alcohol. She claimed he was fussy from teething and the wine calmed him down. I'll bet it did, fuck. 2, she confessed to the car seat issue. She said he was crying in his car seat. He hated it. So she pulled over on the highway to put him in the front seat. Our jaws dropped. We told her next time to go to a gas station, call us, the other options. She now just puts him in the front, claiming it was good enough for her kids. She claims she always gave her kids alcohol to soothe them and rarely used car seats in her day. She was not allowed to drive the kids again, and she did back off the booze. I get it, kind of, but it definitely was a holy shit moment. Given how finicky my sister-in-laws were with their kids, I was pretty shocked. I still have no idea what to say about it. Edit, attention people who think CPS should have been called. There is more to the story and my son is safe and sound. This was about 5 years ago. I'm no longer married to his dad. And yes, I did lose my shit. Privately, screaming at my mother-in-law and acting like a lunatic would not handle this. My ex-husband apparently laid into her afterwards. It was handled. Let's please not start calling for child abuse charges. Yeah, it does seem like a common trend for Reddit just to immediately jump for CPS with limited information. Dear God. You can have a story taking place 10 years ago and they'll still tell you to call CPS. I also do know that using alcohol to soothe teething was pretty common amongst boomers and Gen X. It was never done on me, but I do know that it was oftentimes joked about that a little bit of Jack Daniels doesn't hurt infants from teething. I don't think that's true, but I do remember that being a common motif when it came to that. And we've already been over the car seat stuff on this channel. That is absolutely unacceptable. Ready Programmer 651. Boomer parents assume my weekends should revolve around their yard work. Like the title says, my boomer dad will plan his yard work, his one and only interest, around my off days so that he can insert me into them. I work a tough manual labor job. I'm not complaining. I get paid decently and it gives me exercise through the 8 hours of my shift. But that means when the weekend comes and I have my days off, I am sore and tired. I'm not looking to dig fence post holes or plant things or move stone pavers or whatever else he concocts up to fill his time. It happened again this weekend. Literally on Friday, I get a text from him saying, "Oh, you know that one project I mentioned to you last weekend?" He has never mentioned this before. "Oh, that's my bad. Anyway, we're gonna be moving plywood sheets and nailing them to the side of the barn. Why don't you be down here by 11 on Sunday?" We are going to be moving plywood? We? I explained to him that I will not be doing this and he cannot keep making plans and just assume that I will be there. He can and should be hiring professionals for this. He has the money. He trots out the, "Why don't you care about your parents? Where's your work ethic?" Etc. Does anyone else have this happen to them? I'm going to give as much benefit of the doubt as possible. There's a decent chance that your dad just doesn't know how to communicate that he wants to spend time with you and knows that these projects get you to come over and you help with them. So there's a chance he probably just sets these up so he can get his son over to hang out when he doesn't realize that if he just asked, "Hey, you want to come down and actually chill?" that you might be more likely to hang out with your dad then instead of setting up plywood on a barn. That's that's just my thought process. There is also the chance that he just sees you as free labor and that is a possibility and that would really suck. So I'm kind of hoping that it's just him being really awkward and wanting to spend time with you and just realizing that yard work gets you down to the house so you can spend time down there. It would definitely suck if it turns out that he just wants the free labor, but I also, unfortunately, wouldn't be surprised. Immediate Law 1705. I only hit you 3 times. You're just overreacting. Why did you need to call the police? I did nothing wrong. Boomer freakout. Edited post. Just got off the phone with one of those officers on scene. Guy was charged with 3 different counts. I am not very versed in law. Please do not ask me about any clarification of the charges. I have no idea how someone can be charged for 2 different types of assault. Just relaying what I was told. Here they are. Aggravated assault on medical personnel, Class D felony. Assault in 3rd degree, misdemeanor. Disturbing the peace, misdemeanor. Sorry for the long post, but I promise it's a good one. For some context, I work at a busy medical clinic that is its own standalone entity. No hospital attached to the clinic. We have 50+ rooms being used at any given time and have an urgent care that allows for walk-in appointments. Yesterday, I was asked if I would be able to stay after my normal shift to cover urgent care as the PA working had a sick kid. Not a problem. I do this all the time and I'm happy with the overtime and knowing it's either incredibly busy in urgent care until the doors close or it's completely dead. Yesterday, we saw basically no one after 4 p.m. We are open until 10 p.m. All that changes when 45 seconds prior to closing, in comes Boomer. Boomer's husband, son-in-law, and 2 grandchildren. I hear, "Glad we made it. Looks like you guys were just about to go home." Front desk staff checks Boomer into the computer and then hands her an iPad to do her intake forms as she was a brand new patient for our clinic. Cue the stereotypical, "back in my day" BS I heard multiple times daily about how the iPad is so difficult to fill out for anyone who isn't a child. In the interest of getting home sooner, I decided to get her back into a room, get tests started, and help her with the iPad. Going through the intake questions, everything seemed fine. A few minutes go by when Boomer's husband starts yelling, and I mean screaming, at the top of his lungs at me that their wheelchair didn't have the leg rests like the hospital's wheelchairs did. "Why don't you have those wheelchairs here?" No problem. I can help with that. Literally part of my job. I showed them how to use the wheelchair, got her legs supported, and continued asking questions. Then, Boomer and husband start screaming and telling me the clinic is too cold, that I should have offered her a warm blanket, coffee, and some kind of item to eat prior to bringing her back to the room. Like this is a restaurant or 5-star resort. At this point, I was flabbergasted. I've spent 15 minutes in the room with the patient helping with the iPad, explaining a friend who you treat like family had cancer has no medical relevance to your medical history, and trying to keep the rest of the family comfortable as their wife, mother-in-law, and grandmother was being treated. I looked at them and said, "We don't have any warm blankets as this is not an emergency room or surgical center, but I can try to find a few gowns or towels we can use as blankets." Nope. Continued screaming and complaining. However, the tone had shifted from, "This clinic is bad," to, "You're the issue," meaning the screaming started to be directed towards me. As a healthcare provider, I have fairly thick skin and am able to shrug most things off with no problem. I generally will just leave the room for a few minutes to let the situation calm down, and then return with a kill him with kindness attitude. I left, ordered the tests I wanted to be run, and went and ended up finding a few blankets we had from a previous shipping mix-up. I walk back into the room, smile on my face, ready to give them the good news that nothing seems to be abnormal on any of the tests and she'll be completely fine in a few days. Oh boy, was I wrong, in more ways than I could have thought. I opened the door and feel like I was clotheslined. I stumbled backwards, supporting myself with the door, look up to see the husband going in for another punch. A total of 3 punches connected with my face before son-in-law was able to hold husband back enough for me to leave the room. We have panic buttons placed around the clinic, and I told one of the clinic staff to call the police and push the panic button. Told them under no circumstances do you enter that room. Few minutes go by and you hear sirens approaching, shortly followed by 3 police officers coming into the clinic. I explain the situation to the police, explain I am not looking to press charges, I just want husband removed from the location so I can treat his wife. Police understand and say they will remove the husband and have him trespassed from the property. Husband must have heard this through the door because he swung the door open, smacking his grandchildren who were sitting behind the door quietly the whole time. The police saw this, grabbed the husband, and detained him in cuffs immediately. They then explained he could be charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault and a count of aggravated assault on a juvenile. He turns ghostly white, turns to me and says, "I only hit you 3 times. You're just overreacting. Why did you need to call the police? I did nothing wrong." Now, our policy is quite black and white in regards to unruly patients, especially since we are an outpatient clinic and not an emergency room. Absolutely zero, and I mean zero, tolerance of verbal, physical, or sexual abuse of any staff member or patient by any patient, family, or guests will be tolerated. I mean, I was punched 3 times by a dude I wasn't even treating, close to 30 minutes now past closing time after a 10-hour shift. I don't know what constitutes calling the police to this dude, but I feel this was warranted. Once husband had been removed from the room, I returned to the patient, now in tears because her husband was just taken away by police. She's yelling at me that I should have known he was just having fun and joking. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I ended up giving the son-in-law directions for her care that I had written on her discharge sheet, checking out her grandchildren, no injuries other than a very small abrasion on one of their arms, and escorted them out of the clinic. Seriously, could not have made this shit up. After being assaulted by her husband, I was the one in the wrong for calling the cops? Nah, that ain't right. Normally, I love my job, but last night was a tough one. Edit, wow, did not realize how not pressing charges lets them get off. My bad, guys. I will chat with my bosses tomorrow and see how I can press charges. Sorry, guys, I'll get that changed right quick. Second edit, just got off the phone with my officer on scene. Guy was charged with 3 different counts and arrested last night, currently being held in jail. I'm not versed in law. Please don't ask me about any clarification on the charges. I have no idea how someone can be charged for 2 different types of assault. Just relaying what I was told. Then we have the ones that we were told earlier. Third edit, spoke with my clinic manager, the doctor I work for, director of clinic operation, VP of safety, chief legal counsel, secondary legal counsel, COO, and CEO for about 2 hours today, 2 days after the incident. We're going to be implementing a new policy regarding workplace incidents. This includes a new form that'll be present in the incident reporting forms that details any officers on site, charges possible, parties involved, and injuries reported. This is in addition to the standard incident report and is meant for possible litigation in the future, hopefully decreasing the chance of someone getting off without penalty with this sort of action. I was told I'll be covered and represented by the company's counsel, who are going to be pressing civil charges against the family in question. Also, brought up needing to do a wellness check on the family and the patient specifically. Was told this will be looked into and followed up on. Honestly, the largest red flag to all of this, excluding the assault of course, because that's pretty fucked up, is the fact the wife responded with that he should have known he was just having fun and joking. I'm genuinely concerned if the wife was just trying to cover for her husband, or if he's created an environment where like a physical assault is just a joking and fun matter, because that is actually a big yikes. Also, it's a bit yikes the sheer confidence they had walking into establishment before closing and being like, oh, look at that, just in time, looks like you were about to go home. I remember one time when I was working at a fast food restaurant, we had a 30 top come in about 5 minutes before close, and oh my god, that was, damn. If they had made jokes about making it just before closing, I don't know if I could have made it through that night. I think I probably would have just given up and left. Thankfully, they were really nice. They just ordered a lot of fries, but oh my god. Scariest thing as a restaurant employee is seeing 30 people walk in 5 minutes before close. I'm sure the clinic's pretty used to having people walk in, you know, right before closing or something along those lines, but it still brings me back to the weird thing of the boomer assaulting him and then the wife being like, oh, this is normal. Didn't you know he was joking? That still bugs me, like, a lot. Rubik's Rube. Boomer ruins after-work beers because we had the audacity to vent amongst ourselves. Boomer freakout. It was a stunning weekend outside, and a few of my peers and I decided to unwind from a grueling week at the office with a few pints on a patio. As we got into bemoaning about deadlines, long hours, inept colleagues, layoffs, heavy workload, the general after-work vent, Boomer decides this is a great time to interject into our conversation by declaring, "You don't know what hard work looks like." We politely ask that he leaves us alone, which we should have known translates directly to keep talking in Boomer speak. The Boomer proceeded to go into the standard diatribe of, "You kids these days, you just don't want to work." We're all older millennials, late 30s, early 40s, hardly kids. Some of us have kids. We also all hold titles that start with words like lead, senior, and director. So we all work and have worked our way up. At this point, we just no longer wanted to deal with him and told him bluntly to shut up and go sit back down as his commentary was unwelcome. Aghast at our rudeness, this dinosaur of a human leans over and spits in our freshly dropped pitcher of beer and calls us rude. We signal over the server, explain the situation with a fresh wad of Boomer Lug floating in our beer. She swipes it away and we can hear the bartender and manager over at the Boomer's table, asking them to leave. What we did not expect is that the bar, not wanting to take the L, threw in the cost of the pitcher on his tab, which they were demanding be closed out immediately. He loudly protested, $40? Are you people crazy? I shouldn't have to pay for that. That's too much, with a gentle threat to either pay or have the police sort it out. The Boomer conceded. As he exited, he glared at us the whole way out. Yeah, Boomer, $40 is what you pay for a pitcher of a decent quality beer in the economy you created. For a little extra salt, being somewhat regular at the bar literally across the street from work, the establishment did end up comping us both the pitchers we drank for the night. They just wanted to teach him a lesson. The spitting part seems to be uniquely Boomer, and it does sound like something they would do. I also just have been getting the sense over doing this for a bit now that most Boomers seem to have the archetype personality of complaining is a competition. It's not just simply venting, be like, damn, dude, this sucks. It's, oh, I have it worse. They always get a one-up you on their complaining, and if they feel like that you've one-upped them and they can't compete, suddenly you have it too good, or you just don't understand, or you just don't get it, or you get your beer spat in, apparently. I don't know. There does seem to be a fundamental attempt at one-upsmanship with most Boomers, so I do wonder if that's just kind of like a outlier squeaky wheel gets the grease, or if that is just a fundamental part of their generation. Genuinely curious, I don't know. What do you all think? Mermaid Dolphin. Boomer comments on me buying sushi on Memorial Day and then thanks me for my sacrifice. I ran up to the grocery store today and threw some sushi in my cart for lunch. Boomer sees this and comments how I should be eating American food today because it's what the troops who lost their lives fought for. Like, seriously? I come from a line of Air Force officers, dad, brother, two brother-in-laws, and a father-in-law. And if I asked any of them if they fought for hamburgers and hot dogs, they'd laugh in my face. Just not being in the mood today, I just shot back. My brother-in-law was killed in action, so we have sushi on Memorial Day to honor his memory, because it was his favorite food. You could see the smoke coming from his ears trying to think how to backpedal because he disrespected the one thing that they believe should never be disrespected. He leaves with the, "Thank you for your sacrifice," and then scurries away. Like, fuck off and keep your comments to yourself. This isn't a happy holiday for everyone. Honestly, this might be a bit of a hot take here, but grocery store sushi is probably more American than traditional sushi that you would actually get from a restaurant, so I don't know. I'm probably gonna get drawn and quartered for saying that, but come on. The sushi in those little plastic tins? Come on. I know they have that like Japan and like other countries and whatnot, but that feels, I don't know why, but grocery store sushi just feels uniquely American. And again, once more, we have the usual boomers being rude for the sake of being rude and trying to prove a point. Then once they find out they're disrespecting the troops or family members of troops, they scuttle away and, hide themselves in shame. KEYZ 30. I wouldn't be surprised if I got that wrong because apparently I've been finding really stupid ways to screw up names, so that's always fun. Do you know who the hell I am? No? This happened 2 years ago. My partner and I had just bought our first house in an estate sale. For those of you who haven't been through the process, it can be a bit stressful as the sellers are typically not required to share any information about the property. You're mostly buying as is. We love the house, and though it's had more warts on it than we wanted, I wouldn't have done anything differently. After a few months of preparing and repairing the property, we moved in. I was lounging on our couch when I noticed an old man walking 2 dogs. This normally wouldn't catch my attention, but normally dog walkers aren't 10 feet on my front lawn. I still probably wouldn't have cared, but at that moment, the larger of the 2 dogs took a fat dump in my yard and the old man ignored it. I opened the front door and greeted him with, "Hello, how are you doing today? Please pick that up and don't do it again in the future. Thanks." I thought this was pretty reasonable, but the old man apparently disagreed. He just turned around and stared at me a moment before poking himself in the chest and saying those words. "Do you know who I am?" Obviously, I didn't, and said as much. Also, I didn't care. I just wanted his dogs to stop shitting on my lawn. "Well, I'm Mr. Son of previous owner of that house, and in this neighborhood, we treat each other with more respect." Yeah, like allowing our dogs to crap on everyone's property. I told him to clean up after his dog and leave it, or I would call the police for trespassing. Thankfully, he did, but not without another few seconds of his weird boomer tantrum. Why are so many people like this? We have another neighbor his age that is incredibly kind to us, and he says this guy has always been a prick. Edit, you guys telling me to throw the dog shit back at him, need to go touch some grass. So, I know that some people probably wouldn't understand what the big deal is with a dog, taking a crap on someone's yard and, them not picking it up. But the main problem comes from the fact that, if I don't have a dog and I'm mowing my lawn and I'm not expecting there to be droppings in my yard, mowing that up with a lawnmower will do some serious damage to the lawnmower or possibly end up actually just spraying it all over myself with a blade. It's not pretty. I've had it happen to me before. It is foul. But yeah, no, it's more of a common sign of respect. That's the majority of it, but the bigger part of it is the fact that, I don't want to be caught off guard and be sprayed by something that my lawnmower picked up, or have to buy replacement parts for my lawnmower. Bison stole my anus. They do that, Boomers stopped me on the street to berate me for drinking in public. It was barbecue sauce. Made myself a nice batch of pulled pork last night, so on my way to pick up my child from school yesterday, I stopped at the grocery store to pick up some barbecue sauce. Didn't want to bother with a bag for a single bottle of barbecue sauce, so I was holding it in my hand as I walked to the school. Enter Boomer Man walking his dog. I see him coming from down the sidewalk and think nothing of him until he gets close to me and I realize he's speaking. I take out my earbud, only to be greeted with him ranting at me. "You should be ashamed of yourself. This is a school area, and children shouldn't be seeing that." Me, very confused. Excuse me? "Boomer, Put the booze away. I can't believe how okay with looking trashy some of you people are. At least wait until you get home, for crying out loud. Me, still just as confused. It's barbecue sauce. Boomer looks again at the very obvious condiment bottle in my hand, then storms off shouting, "Well, how was I supposed to know that? As if I'm the asshole." Saw him stink-eyeing me over his shoulder as I left. Bizarre interaction, and yet totally in character for a boomer. The pulled pork turned out delicious, by the way. I appreciate that final update, as that was honestly my only concern. General bullshit and assumptions aside, what's y'all's favorite pulled pork recipes? Oh, I want to go get barbecue now. God damn it. It's midnight. What am I doing with my life? Who the hell's gonna have barbecue this late? Can't even go to a store to pick ingredients up. God damn it. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.